This film was very fascinating to me, so I watched it. I was perusing on Max, which I hate the fact that they call it Max because HBO sounded so much better. But anyway, Max. I've been obsessing over this film that came out in 2014 called Addicted. Not because of the acting per se, not because of the directing, and definitely not because of the editing, but because of one particular guy in it.
I'm all yours. I want to ban you. So that when you're not here, I can satisfy myself with the mere thought of you.
Oh my god, this dude is so fine. I'll come back and talk about that film in a minute, but I wanted to take a break from watching that film like 20,000 times. And I came across this film called Another Earth. Just reading the synopsis and the trailer, which I really try hard not to do, but I was very impressed with the fact that with this trailer and synopsis, it didn't give too much away. Because nowadays with Hollywood films, they do tell you what the film is all about, beginning, middle, and end, in a 2-minute trailer, to the point where it doesn't make any sense to even watch the film. The film is an hour and 33 minutes long, and I'm very happy about that because the story itself is very simple, and I loved it more than I thought I would. Well, the film follows a girl who, when she was younger, was drunk driving and hit a car,
Light?
killing a mother and a son. The husband was in the car, but he didn't get killed. He got injured. Years later, she gets out of jail and she is trying to make amends. She ends up confronting the guy, but she ends up getting nervous and scared, and she ends up befriending him under false pretenses. And then their friendship turns into something more, and now she's stuck with the complex of, should I even tell him the truth now because we're so far in. At the same time, the government has discovered a second planet Earth where the inhabitants on that Earth are basically identical to this planet, and any person in America or in the world that wants to check out that new Earth, they can take the risky trip there because it's a very high risk trip, never been done before, and there is a potential that you can actually die on your route there. But you just have to give them a whole essay on why you think you will be the best person to go, and that is the premise of the film. I like the film a lot more because it's an indie film. For a fact, the budget for this film, from what I found, said that it was about $100,000, which is a very great budget for an indie film. Also, the film is shot in Connecticut, and I didn't realize that until like second watch. I actually have no idea why I said second watch. I actually meant first watch. I mean, I was watching it for the first time and I noticed that it was from Connecticut because of the town that they mentioned. I have no idea why I said second. The girl, she gets out and she has to do community service, and she decides that she wants to do something more with her hands and not having to talk to people. And the lady says this.
Well, there's a maintenance position open at West Haven High School.
And I'm like, wait, there's not that many places in the US that have a name called West Haven. That's a clear Connecticut town. And West Haven High, I'm familiar with West Haven High. Is this film shot in Connecticut? Then I found out that the director and writer of the film is actually from New Haven, Connecticut. And then as I'm watching the film, I'm noticing certain locations. And I'm like, yo, I'm familiar with that area. That's downtown New Haven. And then there were some residential neighborhoods, and I'm like, I definitely driven down this street before. This is actually really cool to have someone that's from Connecticut shoot in Connecticut and have identifiable locations for people to know, like, there, this is a Connecticut based film. It also made me realize that when I'm overthinking stories and like going through creative blocks, there are people out here that are actually making films and doing it in their hometown, which makes the most sense when you're making films as an indie filmmaker. This film also came out in 2011, so it's not like a new film, but it was just one of those films where if you are looking for something unique and interesting, streaming services are the way to go. And whether you're looking for like an indie film or just something different that you don't see in theaters, I am so appreciative of streaming services be a thing. I'm still trying to decide whether I want to get back Netflix because Netflix has been having a lot of nonsense, but there are certain films up there that I definitely want to come on and talk about. One being the trilogy 365. Love it, hate it. You have to know your reasons why you like it and why you're watching it, and I know my reasons. When it comes to this film, I thought it was really cool. One being, it's a Connecticut-based film. For those that do not know, I am from Connecticut. And New Haven, actually. I was born in New Haven. Being able to watch a film done by a New Haven, Connecticut-based filmmaker in Connecticut, being shot in Connecticut, is just really cool to see. But also, I remember that there was a time back in the day where Hollywood films were being shot in Connecticut because of the tax breaks. And I don't know if this was the year that this was all happening in, but I just remember Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull was being shot there. A film with Martin Lawrence was being shot there. A few other things were being shot in Connecticut. It was funny because a lot of people don't think about Connecticut being a place that has anything going on. But then you have people going out there and making Hollywood films, and like filmmakers on the rise making projects. I thought the acting in this was really good, and you can tell just from the shooting and the editing that is 100% indie. And I love it. Like, it's not an indie film that's trying to be Hollywood. It's an indie film that is trying to tell a good story, and I appreciate that. I also like the fact that because of the focal point being Planet Earth 2, that's the focal point in the sky. So anytime you see the actor walking outside, whether she's just walking down the street or actually admiring the sky, you see that planet you see that planet Earth in the sky. And I really thought that was cool because when it comes to budget, you really have to be smart with how you disperse it. When it comes to the cinematography of the film, it's kind of gritty. You know, it has like, a lot of graininess to it, which doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all that it's not crisp and clean like a big Hollywood budget film. It kind of gave me the vibe of like Man on Fire with the grittiness to it. I enjoyed it, to be honest. The story is very simple, but yet it's still complex, and it makes you think like, what if there is another Earth out there? Would I actually take the trip? Now, to be honest, I probably wouldn't. It is a thing to think about, you know, at the end of the day. And when I say identical, they mean like there's people, like there could be me up there. So again, it was still kind of fascinating dealing with the moral dilemma of certain situations, especially the ones that that girl was in. Also, I want to pinpoint the fact that this chick murdered two people as a drunk driver, and she was underage, so maybe that played a role. But she murdered two people, and then she got let out after 4 years. Now, listen, that could be a thing that happens in law because she was underage, but I don't know about that. I don't know about murdering two people when you're drunk driving and only getting 4 years. I was thinking in my head like maybe she got out for good behavior. All in all, I really did enjoy this film a lot. It was a film that I didn't expect to watch and like looking at the cover photo, it wasn't something that intrigued me. I'm like, "Ooh, that looks fascinating. I want to watch this." But it was just I was looking for something different. You know, I was looking for something a little bit more older. I think that when you get past 2010, maybe even 2011, films start to go downhill, and it's when you start looking at older films that are 2010 and older, you start seeing how storytelling actually was. And granted, there are a few films that fall through the cracks in earlier years that are actually decent, but I find that you going back at least 10, 15, 20 years, you start seeing a dramatic difference in how people were telling stories. And it's actually very inspiring for the indie filmmaker. Because if you're trying to be a Hollywood filmmaker, you're probably going to follow the same sort of things that they're doing. Whether it works or not, because you know they're all about making money, while indie filmmakers are out here just trying to create amazing stories. So I do find it fascinating, and if I find more things, I'm definitely going to bring it to you guys. This year is the year that I'm going to be dedicating to doing more films. And for those that do not know, I am working out a short film that I created in 2014 and turning it into a feature-length film. It's taken a lot out of me, though, to be honest. But I think it's just a matter of me refocusing and trying to figure out, do I want the story to be dialogue heavy, visually heavy, play with music? Because I think, at least for me, when it comes to storytelling, a lot of my stories have been created off of music that I've listened to. Like, I'll hear a song, and from that song, I'll come up with a story. And that's, for the most part, the majority of how a lot of my films have been made, off of music that I've listened to. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are indie filmmakers or just storytellers and you get inspired by listening to certain music and certain songs that you listen to help you create a story. Let me know. And also, let me know if you've actually heard of this film. Again, it's called Another Earth. It's on Max, HBO. And I thought it was a really cool film, to be honest. Again, it's an hour 33. It's not trying to waste anybody's time. It's getting to the point. It is not really like an exciting film. It's definitely somewhat of a slow burn. If you enjoy that, like if you just enjoy listening to stories, you'll enjoy this. It's a nice, calm, chill film with a nice indie feel to it. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're always notified about the new videos that I have coming out. 2025 has started off very inspired, a little depressed. You know, I've been missing my family and friends. I'm feeling very inspired, especially when it comes to like posting on Instagram and like when it comes to going back to my Patreon. I am in the works of trying to get a studio because I realize with the content that I create, it's going to make the most sense for me to have a studio so I can make consistent content. Doing stuff out of the car and going to libraries and coffee shops works to a certain point, but then there comes a point where I actually need a physical location so I don't feel restricted in the content that I create. So that's currently what I'm doing. Now, whether I find that in Florida or in another state, that's the dilemma that I'm going through right now. But with that being said, I love you all. Let me know what you guys thought about this video. Were you interested in watching this film? What do you think about storytelling and music being a big inspiration behind stories being made? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, in the links in the description bar below, you can find my website, and that's where you can find the podcast, the Patreon, and everything else that I'm doing. AllieRobbins.com. Definitely check me out. I shaved my head down. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the fact that I shaved my head down. I shaved my head down quite a few times. But this was actually accidental. I did not mean to shave it down this low. When I decided to leave, maybe sometime in April, I do want to have it all grow out at the same length so I can braid it. So I don't have to worry too much about it, but it also can grow without me having to do too much to it. That's a lot of information. This video has nothing to do with my hair. I'm just letting y'all know the situation. I love you all. Hope to have you all come back for the next video.